Good evening and welcome to episode number 51 of Tetrakey TV. My name's Rob Yates and it's my privilege to come to you for the 51st time in 2017 out of 260 minimum Facebook Live stroke Tetrakey TVs that we are going to bring you. Our sole intention with this is to give you new thoughts, new ideas, new actionable concepts which will enable you to be more successful, to thrive, to reach your goals and to be generally the very, very best version of you. Tonight, a massive shout out to anybody who watches us who's in the UK, mine and Mark's home country, where Mark is at this point in time. So hi if you're there, thank you for watching, and everybody, thank you for everything that you do in terms of participating in our Facebook Lives. Tonight I want to talk about something that's a little bit doom and gloom, but we need to be aware that it's likely to happen. And that's the fact that we're likely to have a form of a global economic meltdown in the next year, and some people would say in the next few weeks, but let's just say in the next year. And I'd like for you all to be able to thrive within that economic meltdown. So this evening I'm going to offer you some thoughts about how it is you can position yourself now to thrive and why it is that I believe that that's going to happen. I'll also share with you what I'm doing about it so we can start getting some real life examples. So that's this evening's session. What I'd particularly like you to do is to share this message with all of your friends, all of your family, because tonight isn't just about business, it's about life, and it's about how to do well when the odds are against you. So please take this opportunity now, if you're on Facebook Live, to click share. If you're viewing this on Instagram, to give us a heart and to follow us. On YouTube, a thumbs up, so on and so forth. And thank you for everything that you do. So let's jump right into it. So there's two things, two ways that I like spending my reading time, and one way is almost futuristic. Now I'm not talking sci-fi. I'm talking a text like 1984. I'm talking other books about what's going to happen in our future. How is technology going to impact on our future, so on and so forth. And some of that's just plain common sense. And if you go on my Instagram profile from earlier today, you'll see a video I put up there that started off with Kodak saying that people wouldn't want to have pictures on their computer because they'd always want to have film. And lo and behold, Kodak's not in existence. Other people who are saying, oh, people won't want to have the music digitally on any device, on their computer or wherever else. They'll want to have it on a record or a CD. And, well, who buys CDs these days? So that's one way I like looking. The second way I like looking, I like reading about it, I like reading backwards. History tells us what to expect in our future, especially when you get into trend and pattern recognition. And there's all sorts of trend and pattern recognition. You can start getting into theories of generational cycles and all sorts of other things. But one that's particularly struck me, and interestingly is backed up by a lot of senior economists, globally at this point in time. It's also backed up by a lot of venture capitalists and investors about how they're choosing to spend their money, is the fact that for the past 100 to 150 years, every 5 to 8 years, we've had what's referred to as some global economic meltdown, or certainly we can think of days that have been referred to as black days. Often this has been led by the US dollar, and while individual countries' economies have been pretty stable at that point in time, the sheer fact that we purchase almost everything that's imported into every country in dollars, especially fuel, means that the impact of the US economy on the rest of the world is significant. So every 5 to 8 years. So why should we pay attention to that now? Well, the last time this happened and we had a big crash in the stock markets was 2008 and 2009. And the predictions going forwards are almost of a meltdown that would be of 1940s sort of scale, where quite possibly we could see a 25 to 35% increase in oil, all on its own, and the impact on that on us and how we live our lives is huge, because pretty much everything we do is dependent on oil. Also, if you go and look at the largest businesses in the world at this point in time, they've all been bearing some of the increasing costs that have been experienced globally recently, and they haven't been passing all of that on to us, the consumer. So they have very little in the way of flesh or a reserve to pad out anything that may well happen. And history would lead us to the fact that it probably is, or is very likely to happen in the next weeks to year. And therefore the impact on consumers, on us, the wonderful people who spend our money in stores, is going to be dramatic. So what is it that we need to do and we need to think about in order to thrive at a time where the finances of the rest of the world go upside down? What is it that we can be thinking of? Now, some of this is about us, ourselves, and our family, and others is about business and how businesses can position themselves to do well within this. And the first thing that we all need to do, whether we're a business or whether we're an individual, whether we've got a family, is dramatically reduce our overheads. To the point, if you've got a car on finance, now would be a really good time to lose the car, get a smaller car that's bought for with cash, and not have those cars on finances, because the likelihood of interest rates going up at this point in time is significant, and therefore your monthly repayments could go up as well. Also, at the same time, jobs, work and money will be harder to come by, so you may well find that your expenses go up at the same time as your income goes down, or levels. So dramatically reducing overheads is a really, really good way. And if you're in a country like South Africa, where power and electricity is significantly expensive, now would be a really good time to invest in things like solar power, or certainly solar geysers for hot water, to mean that we're less dependent on the grid, less dependent spending money on power. So reduce those overheads as much as humanly possible. Here's the thing, it's far easier to increase them when you get the opportunity than it is to decrease them in the middle of a economic problem where the stress levels go up. So reduce your overheads. If you've got the ability to pay off your house right now, pay it off, and start to take any money that you can and save it. What Warren Buffett always has the attitude that when the economy is really good, he doesn't invest, and when it's going bad, he starts buying stocks, shares, equity in firms and whatever else. Because if you look at the economies and the markets for the past 150 years, for every decline, there has been a significant bull market or incline afterwards. And so having money to invest and purchase when everybody else is selling low is a really sensible thing to do. You will then put yourself in a position where you can buy low and sell high. And that doesn't necessarily have to be stocks and shares. It could be equity in businesses. It could be a number of things. So there's two things that you can do personally, but also businesses need to be doing this. Now is the time to cut the cloth accordingly, as opposed to being forced to. So the third thing I'd like you to consider is about adapting your business model to serve as many customers as possible. Now, traditionally in business and in a bull market, an upward market, I'd be advocating you to concentrate very, very firmly on the 20% of people that bring you 80% of your income. The interesting thing is that those people are likely to be the hardest hit in any form of economic downturn. They're likely to be the people who have lots of things on finance, have quite a lot of credit because credit's made available to them, and are likely to reduce the quantity of money they spend on desirable or seemingly desirable things that aren't necessary to survival for the here and now. And we've experienced that with the drought in South Africa over the past 2 years, where farmers have been unable to pay their insurance policies there, especially the long-term risk and investment policies, and have lost significant amounts of money because they've had to take that money now and have the money for the now as opposed to for the future. So now is the time for your business to physically serve as many people as is humanly or not even humanly, mechanically possible. And if that could end up as a small business in tens of thousands of people who are purchasing something cheap from you, but on a monthly basis, and by cheap we're talking $5 to $50 maximum on a monthly basis, that is the way forwards for your business now, to concentrate on that now. The longer you leave concentrating on that, the harder it will be to find that volume of people, and therefore the worse position you will be in. You know, if you've got 10,000 clients and you lose one, you've still got income from 9,999. If you're playing the usual 80-20 rule and you're concentrating all of your effort into the 20%, quite possibly, you know, if you lose one client, you actually lose 1/20th of your portfolio, or there or thereabouts. So as many clients as humanly possible making cheap purchases. This is how the biggest businesses in the world survive global economic downturns. For instance, no matter where you are in the third world, you see two things. No matter what the economy is doing, you see people walking around with 2-litre bottles of Coca-Cola, and everybody has credit in their mobile phone, regardless of their economic background or their socio-economic demographic. And that's how those businesses stay in business and thrive during that time, because people still want that stuff. So take a leaf out of the book of somebody like a Coca-Cola, like a Vodafone, or maybe like a Microsoft, and come up with that product for your business that's a $10 a week, $2 a day, $1 a day purchase, where people can still afford it. And interestingly, the people at the bottom end of society actually, in percentage terms, end up having more money than the middle and upper class have in those economic downturns. And the last thing is to consider the health, wealth, and well-being, and in particularly health and well-being of your family and friends. One of the cuts that we definitely should not be making is anything to do with cutting our security or our health. It's proven in all economic downturns that people's health suffers, and that the crime rate goes up, and so therefore to cut one of those things in terms of reducing your overheads would be naive, and certainly would position you at the mercy of the markets, maybe having to replace items that you aren't fully insured against when the cash is less. So there's some ideas. My very last idea, and I suppose number 4 almost was last, but let's go for number 5, is jumping on the bandwagon which is happening around you right now, which is the 4th industrial revolution, which is in automation and digitization of business. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's got a piece of research that says that 98% of all financial transactions in sub-Saharan Africa will take place via a mobile device by 2026. How is your business positioned for that? Automation and digitization of your business can enable you to easily serve and maintain line of sight between you and thousands of customers. If you go and look at all economic downturns, the businesses that survive the best are the businesses who've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of consumers who purchase on a regular basis and whose details it is the company has. So there's a few things for you to think about. It is on its way. It won't be pleasant. 2008, 2009 was not pleasant. Before that was not pleasant. But we can safeguard ourselves about this, and we can take advantage of other people who aren't taking this advice and need to liquidate cash from investments, and that will allow us to buy stocks, buy shares, buy equity in businesses, so on and so forth, in preparation for when the market picks up again. Take a leaf out of Warren Buffett's book. So what I'd like from you this evening is I'd like you to leave me a few comments on how it is you're preparing for some form of economic slowdown that's likely to arrive with us very, very soon. Concentrate not on looking for more investors into your business, but concentrate on making your business truly stable and truly profitable. And whatever you do, leave the profit in the business, because that profit will carry you through the economic downturn, and therefore your business will survive. If you do the small and medium-sized business owner thing of stripping your business bare of profit at this point in time and continue to doing so, the risk you expose your business to is significant. So leave it in the business, invest it in marketing, invest it in getting more customers, leave it in savings so that you can subsidize the shortfall in your income when this happens. So normally I'm hugely optimistic about the future, but if we're to go and take notes from senior global economists, if we're to go and take the history and play it forwards, this is starting to become something that's really relevant and going to happen. So please now take the time to share this to your family and your friends. Have conversations with them about how are they delivering on these things I've mentioned and more, to safeguard themselves so that they can thrive in a downward market. That's it from me this evening. Have a great 24 hours further. Please stay awesome. Please, I know you're amazing, so just be more than amazing. And I will see you tomorrow in 24 hours time for my last Facebook Live of this week, because the night after I'll be in the air flying to Seattle. So for Thursday and Friday, you'll be joined by Mark. So that's it. Have a great 24 hours further. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.